So, hello everyone. Welcome to a very wonderful day, April 15, Wednesday, April 15. It's wonderful in the sense that we have two giants who will be presenting their live lectures to us. We have someone who is globally renowned. I will introduce him in a moment, and that's the Vice-Chancellor of the National Open University of Nigeria. And we're also going to have immediately after him a great professor of science education from the United States of America. So let's take our first lecture. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you our first lecturer. I'm going to share my screen with you, and you will follow me in the very brief introduction of a great man. Well, Professor Dr. Abdalla Uba Adamu, who is Vice-Chancellor, National Open University of Nigeria, is a lecturer in the Department of Information and Media Studies, Faculty of Communication, Bayero University, Kano, Nigeria, one of Nigeria's leading universities. He holds a double professorships. Now, you have very few of them in the whole of Africa or in the whole of Nigeria if you want to come down to a national level. Double professorships in media and cultural communication, 2012, and science education, 1997 from Bayero University, Kano. His main research focus is on transnational media flows and their impact on the transformation of Muslim Hausa popular culture, especially literature, film, music, and performing arts. He's an ethnographic filmmaker and also an ethnomusicologist. He was a visiting professor at the European Union at the University of Warsaw in 2012, as well as visiting professor at Universitat Zuid-Koern, State University of New Jersey, Columbia University, University of Florida. So he's been everywhere in the UK, SWAS, and University of Basel. Philosophically, yesterday we talked about Karl Popper and Thomas Kuhn. Now he's a Popperian, following the teachings of Karl Popper, particularly the falsifiability theory. He's also a Copernican. That means he takes after the views and ideas and beliefs of Nicolaus Copernicus that we learned in the History of Science Education lecture last week. And a Kuhnian. You can find more details about our guest speaker for today at this website, www.auadamu.com. So it's my pleasure to invite our great Vice-Chancellor, National Open University of Nigeria, largest in Africa, enrolling over 520,000 students, to make his presentation. Over to you, sir.
All right. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good night, or wherever you happen to be. Mine is today on the issues in virtual delivery of science education, implication for science teacher education. And I have three variables that I would like to look at. That is teacher education, virtual delivery, and finally, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I want us to understand these three separate variables. Let's look at paradigm shifts. How did we get to where we are now? We got to where we are now because we have what we have inherited. We have inherited knowledge and skills that are transmitted through attendance at a training session. And where are we trying to get? Where are we going? Why are we running away from that? We are trying to get to an approach that encourages groups of practitioners to work together and to examine, evaluate, and construct knowledge and skills relevant to their current professional practice and the context of their particular workplace.
Correct.
Students are now more aware of their needs, none of the lemming behavior. Lemmings are rodents in North America that kill themselves all at once, are trying to satisfy a particular administrative system. Technology has by 2020 become a commodity and essential in daily survival. The paradigm shift is to leverage on that technology to enhance teacher education. But how did we get here? Knowing where we come from helps us to understand where and why we should move to another dimension.
Sure.
And I start with a pandemic that has been with us for a very, very long time, called the diploma disease. This was an expression coined by Ronald Doe, and he wrote a book. The guy never had a PhD himself. Remember, you push or pull on something, you are using force, friction, and so on, adhesion, and so on. I mean, these are concepts, science education concepts that are taught in an everyday context. So concept and context go together in place. And that is what STEM is all about. And that is what the learning economy is all about. And that is what teaching should be all about, making it relevant, making it daily occurrences, not necessarily something that you can only do because you want to pass your examination. And this is my 2-year-old grandson, addicted to plays and monster machines. He's absolutely addicted to it. If you switch this thing off, he starts crying. The only way to shut him up is to switch this thing on. So we have to have 2 TVs in the house, one for us and one for them, so that they can watch it. You know, they are addicted to it. So in action, we have to change the paradigms of learning in science education. And one of the spheres that are greatly affected by the technological revolution is education. Today, both schools and universities have undergone many changes, implementing completely new devices, approaches, and tools into educational process for them to follow behind other spheres of life. Though it may seem modern, that modern students are still sitting at desks in the classroom, many surrounding them, things surrounding them have already been replaced by innovative ones, and the learning process today has little in common with the one in the previous century. Yes, Professor Peter Okebukola, the Vice-Chancellor Ibadan, Uche Ndewi, my soulmate, we all learn the hard way. We all learn the traditional way, but not this 2-year-old kid. They are not going to learn that way. They have a totally different attitude to learn. So new technology, new attitude. And I don't have to go through all this, but we know that technology is powerful. It enables students to have their own preferences. They have not reached classroom yet, because you have seen those kids who are sitting on the floor, but those are kids of poor people, absolutely poor people. And teachers have only to learn the basics of implementation and use the class at the lesson, but also take the best possible advantage of it, and not everyone manages to do that. In any case, technology makes an enormous impact on the learning process, and even more amazing changes await us in the future. And all that has happened due to opportunities opened by modern technology to students, and it is obvious that there is no way back to old-fashioned standards. We cannot go back to all that. And therefore, teachers used to communicate with their students only in the walls of the educational establishment. But today, with the appearance of social networks and collaborative tools, there are a lot more opportunities to discuss today in topics. The audience of teachers has expanded to the whole world. Right now, I'm talking to the whole of Africa. Today, teachers do not count the number of their students by classes, as each person from any part of the world can join learning online. And some students even find such educational websites like Khan Academy much more useful than years of college or university program. Moreover, each person can become a teacher with millions of followers using platforms such as Udemy, for example. So interactive materials and methods are what we use. Innovative devices have also made studying more interactive and exciting. Some of the new technologies used in the classrooms are really inspiring. So they are great and motivated to study better and persistently. Technology and data access have become common commodities now and social symbols among students. Take away the phone from any teenager and you have a serious problem. Within a day, he will have a breakdown because his life is tied down to that phone. So what is needed to channel that creative curiosity into educational domain to enhance their incidental learning? No more old-fashioned blackboard notes. A greater part of education is taking notes of the hard lectures. Technology has eased this problem by allowing students to record speech and to receive typed text, marking several simple steps. There's also another shift in customary oral lectures, as today in advanced countries, more tutors invite students to discuss problems and solve them rather than provide with the only right solution. And Professor Okebukola has made a lot of mention about what I am and so on. But he forget to mention himself. I wish somebody else could introduce Professor Okebukola. We'll take over 1 hour doing that. Because he's the only one who puts his lectures on YouTube so that everybody can see it. So students can also just record the lectures, upload to social media sites such as WhatsApp, Telegram, YouTube, and share with other students across the subject spectrum. That way, we create a very integrated learning system. And again, my teacher is doing that. He's taken this lecture and put it on YouTube so that everybody can see it, the whole world can see it. Cards, maps, images, models used as visual aids lose their popularity. There's now Google. Why am I going to waste my time looking at a flat globe of the world when I can type Google and it can tell me location of anything anywhere on the planet? Is there a necessity to spend money and time for their collection if every item can be created right in the classroom? Today, students can only see some objects, but also touch them with the help of 3D printing, for example. There's also no sense in wasting time as paper for images as they can be shown on various devices through screen. Remember when we have to cram periodic table? We all cram periodic table. Now, of what use is periodic table to us right now in 2020? We have to cram all those algebraic formulas and have forgotten what they are. Of what use are they to us? So we are living in a world that is knowledge-driven, it's driven by the society, not by passing examination. At the same time, assistive devices can help. Assistive devices can help not only in education, but also in personality upbringing. The more you interact with the technology, the more you tend to feel better as a person. So you become more personalized. Technology has contributed to individual characteristics and requirements for each student. It's allowed making learning more and so on and so forth. I don't have to keep on and on about technology. We all know that. And social media is one of those drivers as virtual environment. We tend to look at social media as places for entertainment, but it is not. We can effectively use social media as a basis for teaching, for collaboration, for interactivity, for providing materials for the students. If students cannot come to the classroom and sit down for 45 minutes while a teacher just simply talks on and on and on, we know that they are connected to their own to their devices, whether it's an iPad or an iPhone, whether it's a techno phone or like Okebukola's super, absolutely fantastic iPhone 45, which has not even been released yet, but he has been given an advance copy, So they are connected to it, and we can now follow them wherever they are because we are dealing with Generation Z. It is reported that 60% of people who are over 16 years have a profile on one of the social networks. And if I ask all of those who are here, except for the Babalaos who are probably over 50 years old, or actually everybody has a social media network. But the Babalaos who are over 50 years old, I say, this one is for children, not for me. But eventually they will also get onto that. So the question is, can social media have a positive influence on knowledge, or all its features are only detrimental? That's the question that we need to ask ourselves. Do we look at social media as detrimental, or can we use social media platforms as effective platforms for teaching kids science? And this is the task that all of us as teachers have to solve. We collaborate and communicate, and we know that. Once we can use social media effectively for that. We can connect with anybody, anytime, anywhere on the planet. We can find information for knowledge. All you have to do is ask Siri or Alexa or Google or wherever it is. My son asked me a particular question the other day, and I said, do I look like Google to you? Why don't you go to Google and ask for it? So in that way, we are getting a situation where students are interacting with the technology and understanding. Of course, there are filters. So you can put safe search on Google to make sure that they don't go to places that they are not supposed to go to. And it is also an encouragement for LMS, Learning Management System. A learning management system is a software application or web-based technology used to plan, implement, and assess specific learning process. Typically, a learning management system provides an instructor with a way to create and deliver content, monitor student participation, and assess student performance. This is exactly what Professor Peter Okebukola is doing, and that is why he is pioneering. What people don't know is that he created the whole idea of virtual learning when he was in NUC. He created virtual library, African virtual library. He created all this virtuality. And this was years before people can even afford phones. That is why I said, I wish there is a time for somebody to introduce you. You have been introducing others, but these other kids don't know who you are. We who have been interacting with you for the last 30 years know that you are far ahead of your peers and colleagues in this particular direction. You have been creating an LMS at NUC long before even people can name it. We didn't even know what to call it. And the only thing we can come up with virtual learning, virtual library, and so on. And you created a massive depository of virtual library in Africa, African Virtual Library. And this virtual library enables people to understand and access thousands and thousands of materials. And our students admit that use of such websites as Facebook or Instagram enhances learning and is an encouragement for people. For example, it is much more interesting to discuss a topic in the chat than do that in the customary classroom, where the teacher is the driver of knowledge, where the teacher forces the student to listen to him, where the teacher may not even speak in proper English, where the teacher has different kids and these different kids don't understand each other. So it both makes students think or respond to other statements and improve their spelling. Parents become involved also by providing parents with an opportunity to track their children's progress. And profiles of social networks are used for logging on into LMS, or information about student success or underachievement can be sent in a personal message. I have just received a such LMS of my own granddaughter who is living in the Middle East. Because of the lockdown, she's at home and she's a straight A student and she does everything with that. In fact, when we asked her to come to visit us in Nigeria, she said she will only come when coronavirus has gone. So we told her there is no coronavirus in Kano. She said, no, she has to go to Google it. She will Google it. And she Googled it and found that there are 4 cases of coronavirus in Kano. She said she's not coming. And she's only 6 years old. So you could imagine a 6-year-old knows how to use Google in order to verify particular information. So there is no way a teacher can come in front of the classroom and pretend that he's the only depository of knowledge. That thing is gone. It's not coming back again. There is more attention to written text than reading, because people keep saying that children don't like reading, that there is no reading culture. Everybody keeps talking about reading culture that we had in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. Let's be very frank. What were we reading in the 70s? We were reading James Hadley Chase. We were reading Harold Robbins. We were reading novels. We only read our textbooks because we want to pass our examinations. But when we want to really do some reading, we are reading all those text novels. But now with social media and social networks, we are forced to read and to learn to know the spelling. So it's not that people don't like reading. It's just that they don't like reading particular material. And that particular material was boring to them. You have all these boring biology text, boring chemistry text, boring physics text. But with programs like Blaze and the Monster Machine and Rusty's Nut, you come up with an innovative way of delivering package so that science becomes exciting, science becomes interesting. Science is no longer just simply education, but it has become a social process that students can now key into. So it contributes to overall level of intelligence as well as improved writing and reading skills. Virtuality, finally, versus face, place versus face. Producing deliverables across different locations, that is virtual. And like I said, Professor Peter Okebukola was able to do that over 25 years ago when he was in NUC. He was able to create African Virtual Library. And we couldn't understand it at that time. Nobody could understand it. What is he talking about? What do you mean virtual library? How do I have access to it? The reason is because at that time, not many people have computers. But he already had a computer and he was computing away. The thing is, the man was light years ahead of everybody in this particular direction. And there was no way anybody can catch up with him. So let me be very frank with you, Prof. Sir. When we are talking about all those virtual things, we just listen to you out of politeness. But nobody understood what you are saying. Nobody really understood it because it was beyond our conception, because people don't even have the computers. But with your virtual library, you have created the concept of virtuality, which means that we can reach out to students wherever they are, whenever they are, whatever they are. Our virtual learning communities provide an opportunity for individuals with a common purpose to come together across barriers in time and space. And there are many people from different parts of the country. I'm right now here in Abuja, but there are people from Lagos, from United States of America, from Botswana, from all over. We use a variety of online communication tools, and that means busy professionals and individuals who are geographically isolated from their peers can access community. Now, e-learning revolution is not about computers. It's about communication for intergenerational discourse. This is very, very important. It's about communication for intergenerational discourse. Virtual learning communities have risen during the last decades as a response to a variety of drivers, and these include intensifying competition and globalization, new ways of working, accelerating change, the information explosion, and developing convergent communication and information technologies. So what are the steps as a teacher? Number one, overview course content and application. Number two, enable a wide variety of presentation formats that you have to do. Number three, facilitate active student engagement. It's not enough for us to just be there. Now the Professor Okebukola is a facilitator for this, and students are not talking. So he can point at any screen and say, let me hear what you have to say. Enhance student, teacher, and student interaction. Let the students interact among themselves. Create interactive board messages, forms virtual student groups. In NOUN, we have a business plan presentation. All students in NOUN must present their business plan by Zoom. And students from all over the country listen to your particular business plan and they crystallize it. They have an input into it. And the idea is that by the time you finish your own presentation, you have more or less a perfect business plan because you have a lot of input from different people and corona-free because you are all in your own individual locations. Access to knowledge and skills, and provide adapted, individualized, self-paced instruction. We are no longer dealing with students as a whole, as a group, but as individuals, and most importantly, as human beings. So in order to establish good interactions with students virtually, you have to establish your objectives first. Create a learning community that is intellectually exciting and challenging. Encourage learners to perform to the best of their abilities in all aspects. Don't just simply use the old stick that was used on us. You didn't learn because you're asking questions and then the teacher is beating you because you're not paying attention. How does he know that you're not paying attention? Maybe you don't have breakfast. So you come into the school without with an empty stomach. So you could not pay attention. He doesn't care. All he knows is that he has a particular target, and that target is you must pass the examination. You don't pass the examination, they say he's not doing his job, and he ends up beating you. It can no longer be done like that. You beat my child now, I take you to the police station. Child, that is child abuse. That's absolute child abuse. You must be consistently process-oriented instructional methods and keep the learning community centered. Demonstrate effective use of group dynamics. Stress the interrelatedness of the complete curriculum and the value. Know workplace trends and perspective. What is going on in the world and how can you relate it to what you are doing? Draw out creativity, innovativeness, and ideas in collaborative manner. Use a variety of learning activities and demonstrate instructional methods other than lecturing, just simply talking. Integrate curriculum design to provide learners with a learning environment that is experientially based on their own experience, and in the learning style that is collaborative and supportive. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of my presentation, but the big question is, how do we relate all these virtuality, social networks with our programmed desire to pass examination? Because parents will tell you, I don't want all this virtuality. What I want is, I want my son to have 9 credits. I want my son to be accepted in the best university. And this is the big challenge. It's not the challenge for us. We can continue talking about all this virtuality and things like that. But how does this translate into examination performance? Because at the end of the day, that is what parents are going to be asking. That is what the Honorable Minister will be asking. That's what principals will be asking. All these concepts, how do we relate to that? So this means, and Professor Okebukola has been saying this, there has to be an overall system reform in order to take care of all these things. In the United States, as many of you know, there is no formal WAEC or examination. All you are needed is to have a certificate of attendance for high school. And then if you do want to go to the university, you are now free to take the Educational Testing Service examination. That's up to you. But once you finish high school, they consider you educated enough. Even the Education Testing Service examination is not like our own JAM. It deals with your quantitative aptitude, verbal aptitude, and so on and so forth. So these are the challenges that we face in this country. Teacher education is still old-fashioned, and but we are now into a virtual world. So how can we create a situation in which virtual world, virtual learning, and Generation Z, because that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a hip-hop generation. We're not dealing with the Victor Wipo generation or Rex Lawson generation. We are dealing with a hip-hop generation. Tupac Shakur, Snoop Dogg, Jay-Z. These are the ones they know. How can we marry this new generation, new world generation, better generation, and the desire on policymakers, on the part of policymakers, and parents for their kids to have examination without having to go to miracle centers where they pay 38,000 naira and get everything. Thank you very much, sir, for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts and ideas about this. Thank you very much. End of my discussion.
Wonderful, wonderful. We are so delighted to hear this erudition that I've never had in my life. We like to, I want to invite all of us to give the Vice-Chancellor a warm round of applause. Let's give him a warm round of applause. Yeah, I can see you are applauding him. This is just out of this world. I tell you, I've been listening to lectures, presentations on this kind of on this kind of subject. I've not seen a thing like this. It is absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. So we have the floor for the next 10 minutes to interact with the Vice-Chancellor, National Open University of Nigeria, Professor Abdalla Uba Adamu, who has just been awesome in his presentation. So if you want to take the floor, please, first of all, I want the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ibadan.
Okay.
No, I want the Vice-Chancellor, University of Ibadan, VC Ibadan. I'd like you to respond, to be a respondent to this 5-star, actually 7-star lecture. UIVC, if you are there, VC, University of Ibadan.
That's the study center of the University of London.
Oh yes, that's what he said. So I want him to react to that.
Yeah.
Okay, he is not coming on right now. I'd like to introduce the center leader of the Africa Center of Excellence in Engineering Education that's based in Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. This is a center that is making waves in engineering education. Professor Raymond Bako. Professor Raymond Bako, if you are in class, can you just unmute your microphone and say hello to us? Because I saw you coming. Okay, Professor Raymond Bako is not set yet. So let us have anybody who has a question. Professor Raymond Bako, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Professor Raymond Bako. So we welcome you. I'm sure you have enjoyed this lecture as much as I did. I'd like you to make a few statements. Tell us what you're doing in your center very briefly, because we have about 8 more minutes to the next lecture. And so whatever you want to tell us. So take the floor, Professor Raymond Bako.
Thank you, Prof. And thank you for inviting me to join this lecture. I must say that I'm delighted to see and hear Professor Abdalla Adamu, the Vice-Chancellor of NOUN, give us this very inspiring lecture. Prof, we missed you at the ACE Impact workshop. We are looking forward to seeing you. We missed you. I'd like to say that the lecture is apt, particularly with the situation we find ourselves, that most of us are confined to our homes, and therefore we need to rethink the way we deliver our lectures. And this has been an ongoing issue, particularly with the ACEITSE. Our center, the African Center of Excellence on New Pedagogies in Engineering Education, is focus on postgraduate training, master's, PhD, and to provide engineering students with new forms of pedagogy and new ways of delivering lectures, which Professor Abdalla's presentation has adequately captured. One of the challenges that we have in our universities is that lecturers are delivering lectures in traditional ways, and students are not interested in such lecture deliveries, and therefore the outcome, which is their learning, is not commensurate with the skills that we expect them to have.
Thank you very
Therefore,
much. Thank you very much, Professor Bako. Can you round up in about 30 seconds?
All right, thank you very much. So I think that the point that Prof has made concerning technology as communication is very apt. One of the challenges that we have generally in Nigeria is with respect to the availability of technology and the infrastructure to back it up.
All right, thank you so very much.
We have issues of power.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Bako. Thank you.
So we need to address this as
yes. Yes, that's it. Thank you very much. Now I'm scrolling through my screen. There are 3 screens that I have now. I can see Professor Fatai, Mr. Fatai LASU raising his hand. Please make your question very brief because we have other presenter coming from the US. I can see Taiwo Dansu. So let's take Fatai LASU. Unmute your microphone and take the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Sir. Professor Abdalla Uba, we thank you very much for the rendition. I want to ask, the e-learning has come to stay, and post-COVID-19, what are the professors, vice-chancellors doing in making sure that our parents key into e-learning? Thank you.
Thank you very much. What I suggest is that maybe our speaker, Professor Abdalla Uba Adamu, will make a note of the questions and then he can answer them all together. So I think I can see.
That's all right.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Dansu, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I want to say a very big thank you to Professor Adamu for the wonderful delicacy from the kitchen of NOUN this morning. Thank you very much, sir. My questions are these. I have 2 in particular. The first one is the way forward concerning this long-lasting pandemic that have even been ancestral and long-growing even than the so-called COVID-19, which is the diploma disease that you mentioned during your presentation, sir. What is the way forward? Because this situation, this disease have lasted for too long. I grew up knowing this disease as an issue in Nigeria and in so many African countries. And then my second question, sir, for those of us who are young educators and upcoming, what can be done concerning the limitation factor with the use of social media platforms to facilitate learning? You know, considering the demands.
Thank you,
of,
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Kunle Oladejo, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for the lecture, Professor. Based on what you just told us now, my question is that I know for change to take place, it could either be revolutionary or evolutionary. How long do we need to take to, stop expanding this digital divide in our mode of delivery? 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years? When do we need to shut down this particular end and start with a new one? Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. He's a Konian, so he's going to give you a wonderful model.
Paradigm change.
Paradigm change. He's going to give you a model related to that. Professor Chenzewi, do you want to ask a question? Professor Chenzewi.
Yes, please. I want to just give a brief challenge I had. Inspired by this lecture, I sent a text message to my higher degree students that I want us to have some conversations on WhatsApp. And I gave them a deadline to reply. I have 15 of them. As such today, 5 have not responded. And when I called one of them, he told me that his village has no internet access. So I am envisaging that, because I had wanted to, start giving them lectures and what have you online. So I don't know how to handle that. Do I now take those students that are reachable? What happens to the rest? And we know we have a lot of our students in the rural area. So VC, I don't know how you deal with your students. You can give us some ideas that will help us out. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That's all we can take for now. It's okay, Alade Okin, we cannot, because the next lecture is going to come up in a minute. Now, before our Vice-Chancellor takes the floor to respond, I learned quite a lot from this 45-minute delivery. Among what I learned is that, and I'm now going back to Professor Ochezewu that said, and to all of us, he says something that is very, very crucial, that you will find professors of science education, all they are doing is Piaget, sensorimotor, pre-operational, and all of that. You find them concept mapping, Brunner, Brunerian, all of that. What we are being challenged, and I kept saying it, is let us develop our own models. Let's develop our own, let's invent our own technologies, our own ways of doing things, our own theories. How do Nigerian students learn? The Swiss psychologist, Jean Piaget, has talked about how all these theories in Switzerland and some other places, learn. So have we people in Nsukka, in LASU, and everywhere else in ABU, have we conducted studies that are showing how Nigerian students or African students learn? In Burundi, for instance, now there are so many scientists, so many PhD people handling PhDs in science. If you look at the titles that they are researching into. So have we looked at some indigenous methods of carrying out our science? I tell you how LASU got this center and how ABU got its center. It's because we said we are looking at CTC approach. The ABU people said they are looking at the chapel approach. So the ABU has come up with its own indigenous, Nigerianized model of addressing STEM and engineering education. So that's what the VC is saying. Among other wonderful things that I've made note of, look, I was making notes, and I'm going to ensure that many of our students, hang on or cling on to the themes that he has brought out from this exciting lecture. So let me yield to him. This is Professor Abdalla Uba Adamu, a great man indeed, to respond to the questions. Over to you, Vice-Chancellor.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you to all those who have made a very nice comment, and as well as privately. But the answer is very simple. It lies with only one person, and that person is called Professor Peter Okebukola. That person has been at the forefront of driving change when he was NUCES. That person had the ears of ministers, and what we require is a system reform. And this is the beginning of that system reform. We were not doing this before. 2 years ago, we were not here, but now we are here. So nowhere is now here. We are at a stage where we can begin the process. Let's not look back. Let's look forward. Uche, I understand your frustration. Your students say they don't have their network in their villages and things like that. But this is now a situation for us where NCC, NIDA, and all the others can come in and chip in. This technology is here to stay. It's not going to go away. And the more we use it, the better we are off. And this series of lectures is the first in the beginning, the first step in the beginning of total system paradigm change. And one of the advantages, if you like, which is absolutely horrible, of this COVID-19 lockdown is the fact that Professor Peter Okebukola, for the first time, has been locked down in Nigeria. I'm telling you, if there has not been any lockdown, we will not probably be having this, because he will be up in Barcelona, he will be up in Australia, he will be up somewhere. So I think, Professor Sir, you are in a better position to continue driving this change with your discussions with the Honorable Minister and so on. We have started. We're not going to go back. This is the answer.
Thank you so very much. I can see Professor Uche Udeani commenting that they have started some exciting work in University of Lagos. Congratulations. And I can also see, I have 4 more minutes. I can see from Botswana, that is the Vice-Chancellor, former Vice-Chancellor of Crawford University is here. The VC of Tachulari University of Education is in his car. Oh, how very wonderful. Listen, we can see you, I think, driving it somewhere. So, VC Badon, are you still in the house? Because somebody told us that my alma mater is a study center. VC, are you there? No, it's not. Yeah, no, I saw it's coming. Yeah, okay. We'll have to bring this to a close. And I'm going to unmute everybody because I want all of us. Professor Elijah, I've greeted you again. I want all of us. Professor Mostonoha is there. Oh, give us an outstanding.
I've been here all along, sir.
Yeah, actually had
and Professor Abdalla's comment on the first university, naturally.
Yeah, I know you.
The only university of Nigeria.
I heard you. And I'm just letting you know that there's somebody who came on screen just now. And they call their own university OAU, Oba One University. When you say Oba One University, king of all the universities. And that's Professor Michael Barbaro, who was Vice-Chancellor there.
Yeah.
So,
thank you, sir. Very good lecture.
Oh, yeah, very good lecture. Very outstanding. I tell you, Professor Abdalla Uba Adamu, this is a most outstanding lecture. We really appreciate it.
Very outstanding.
Very outstanding. Clearly outstanding lecture.
Thank you.
So we got
Thank
to
you.
close
Thank
now. We have 3 minutes to get on to Professor Alejandro. Are you here? Okay, Alejandro is here to join us. So we will just about and wait for him to join in a few minutes. Meantime, as I said, I will mute everybody for us to give a rounding, a loud round of applause to. Let's do that. Yeah. One round of applause to Professor Abdalla.
COVID clap.
Prof, sir, can I mention one thing? Just one thing, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
One of the respondents has talked about a pandemic which we have not developed a cure for or a vaccine for because we have ignored it. And that is the diploma disease. We have not developed a cure for it. And this is the way to go about developing that particular cure. The 5G networks, the NIDA, NCC, and all the others are ways to do that. 10 years ago, not everybody can afford a phone. But now you can buy a phone for 2,000 naira. So not only technology has become commodified, but also the instruction can become commodified. But the diploma disease is still there. We have to find a way of getting the National Council on Education to give us a vaccine on the diploma disease. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much again. On that note, I'd like to bring that lecture to a close and to again appreciate you. Welcome.